Welcome. You've splash landed into this Prosecco-laden podcast, straight into the woo-woo pool with the crew of Ohm-g. We're just a simple group of tragically imperfect and highly empathic BFFs, exploring a wide range of atypical topics with humor, grace, and curiosity. This is Ohm-g. Welcome. Today we have a very special guest from the Great White North. Her name is Bree Delacruz, and she is a healer and an Akashic Records reader and so much more. You're here with the crew of
Ohm-g, the podcast.
This is Camille.
This is Brenda.
This is Chandra.
And this is Lynn. And today we have our very special guest, a friend of mine from Vancouver, go figure, Bree Delacruz. So welcome, Bree. We're so happy to have you tonight.
Woohoo!
So happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So I'm Bree Delacruz. I'm an Akashic record reader, energy healer, and I'm also studying to be a clinical hypnotherapist.
Nice.
Exciting.
Yeah.
So how did you guys meet? Because you're new to me and Camille and Chandra, but I think you have a history with Lynn. So how did you guys meet?
Go ahead, Bree. You can tell it.
Yeah. Lynn and I, we've been in a few classes together. So we've done intuitive development, energy healing, and I believe Akashic records as well, right? So we have practiced with each other, learned with each other, and have remained friends ever since.
With the great Melissa Sparrow, who we all love here at the podcast show.
High praise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how long have you been in the spiritual world? Like, when did you start wanting to help other people through your gifts and the things that you learned? What was your journey like?
Yeah, my journey is a bit of a long one, but I'll try to make it short. It really began with my grandpa's stories and his journey through stage 4 cancer. So I lived with my grandparents when I was a kid. My mom had me quite young, so I spent most of my time with my grandparents. He was super strong, huge Bruce Lee fan, had a gym in the basement where I would watch him work out, so super healthy. But he was experiencing headaches, and so he went to the doctor. They ran tests, and they found out that he had stage 4 brain cancer.
Wow.
He had a tumor the size of a golf ball intertwined into his brain. He did 33 rounds of chemo, and it didn't change the size or the condition of his cancer. And so he asked the doctor, can I go home back to the Philippines to visit my last living parent, his mom? And so the doctor said, I don't advise, but you have 6 months left to live. And so if this is what you want to do, then go ahead. He goes back home to the Philippines. They know that he's sick, but they don't know exactly what the condition is. But my great grandma at the time, she's actually one of my spirit guides and in one of my photos there. She brought healers and shamans from the community to the house. And so they did energy healings on him for 7 hours a day for 7 days straight. On the first day, he was in a condition where he was gray, lifeless. He couldn't walk and he was feeding out of a tube. But on the third day, he was able to eat real food again, and he was able to change his clothes. On the 7th day, he was able to walk around the house. And then 2 weeks later, he was able to drive a car, something that they had taken away from him, of course. After this trip to the Philippines, he comes back to Canada. They run the tests and scans on him again, and the tumor was gone.
Wow.
And the doctor was just like, I don't know what kind of woo-woo stuff you were doing in the Philippines, but whatever you were doing, just keep on doing it. And so, yeah, I think he's 78 years old right now and still living.
And how old were you when this happened to him?
I was 8.
Oh, wow.
Watching him go through that experience at such a young age really opened my eyes up to the world of energy healing and alternative healing, I guess, if you want to call it that, and how powerful that can be. And so, of course, throughout life, I became a teenager, young adult, and kind of put that stuff on the back burner and didn't pay attention to it. But later on in life, when I found myself in an unhappy 13-year relationship, living in a city that didn't align with me, I felt quite lost. And then I came back to that spiritual side of myself. So that's what brought me actually to the Akashic records, just seeking guidance for myself. And then I realized that people are offering courses. So out of curiosity to try to read my own records, that's what brought me to learning. But then being with other classmates and practicing on friends and family, I started to read for other people, and it just started to click quite naturally. All of the doubts, of course, would set in. Am I meant to do this? Am I good enough? All of those thoughts. But then I thought to myself, if those healers had those doubts and fears and they didn't pursue their work, then my grandpa wouldn't be here today. And so I feel like it's my duty to continue to learn and to continue to help others because I can and because I want to.
That's an amazing and beautiful story, and how much that influenced your life at such a young age. And according to Lynn, you're an amazing reader.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you doing this work full time now, or are you doing it kind of when spirit leads you to?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of a jack of all trades and I wear many hats. So I don't do it full time right now, but eventually I'm going to. But I have other businesses that I like to work on that do still light me up. I'm doing Akashic record readings and energy healings, as I mentioned, but then I'm also studying to be a clinical hypnotherapist. So there's a lot of different hats that I'm wearing, but the base of all of those is that I am still trying and wanting to help people.
That's really cool. What keeps coming through for me as you're talking for future things is channeling is going to become a thing for you. And whether that's, I feel like it's going to be not just the energy part of channeling, but verbally channeling some information that's going to be helpful for people. So I know you channel when you do readings, but I think it's a different level than that.
Totally. It's
So
interesting.
Buckle up.
Yeah. It's funny because I always have said, I just know things. And now I know that's just my claircognizant. But of course, like previous relationships or even other people are just like, what are you talking about? What do you mean you just know things? But you are channeling even if you're not in a session. It just happens.
Right. Yeah. But I think it's going to become more intentional. And I can't wait to see who wants to come through you to help humanity, because we were together on Sunday recording. We were talking about the state of the world at the moment, and especially in our neck of the woods. And I think more and more people are going to be coming forward to help humanity on a bigger level than just being kind. There's going to be more information that needs to come through for the people who are ready to receive it. And I feel like you're going to be one of those people. I don't know. It's a really strong intuitive feeling for me.
I'd be honored to. Every day, it's my mission to help raise the vibration of whoever's around me, the clients that come to me, and just spreading that energy, because there's many different realities, right, that everyone is experiencing, but there are realities where people are experiencing that dense energy. But I feel like as healers, it's kind of our job to be aware of what's happening, but not necessarily subscribe to that energy, and subscribe to a different reality where we can raise the vibration and kind of offset what's happening.
I love how
That's
you were chosen at the tender age of 8 by these circumstances in your family. It feels very strong. And I think it's a wonderful thing. So good on you. I'm glad it happened for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bree sent me a message, and it revolves around this whole conversation we're having now, a while back. And we were talking about managing skepticism and hesitation from those, like one-off clients, especially since what we do, sometimes it doesn't like come to fruition like today. it might take weeks, or, sometimes I've told people stuff and they've come back a year later and was like, oh my God. So that's kind of what the conversation is going to revolve around today, is how do we manage that skepticism? Who wants to go first?
Well, you just got to say what you get, and you got to just be okay with that, I think, and not hold on too much to other people's opinions of who they think you are, who they perceive you to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and two, I think it's a good conversation to have with people about kind of radical acceptance and accountability. Like, we may be able to feel energy, move energy, sense energy, but those people are sovereign. They're sovereign beings. We can't do anything to them or for them. If they're not ready to receive the healing, if they're not ready to integrate the healing, if they're not ready to do their own work, no matter what we do, that there's only so far that it can take them. They've got to be ready to take their accountability and their responsibility for their own. We can hold the space for them and we can show them the energy, but they've got to be ready to do the work themselves, or they're never going to see a result. And that can come back as quote unquote skepticism of, I didn't feel anything, nothing happened. Well, there's probably reasons for that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I also feel like within Akashic record readings, right, what I explain is that it's not coming from me. And so although it's hard sometimes to not take things personally, people are coming to you skeptical, you kind of take it personally because it's your work and you're so passionate about it. But it really isn't me. It's your guides that are just coming through me to tell you things with intention. Whatever they're sharing in your Akashic reading is intentional and on purpose and is pertinent to whatever you're going through in life. And so, yeah, as you mentioned, sometimes they're not ready to receive that information yet, but it's not your job to really filter through what you think they're ready for. It's your job to just channel through and let it flow. And they can receive it or they cannot, or maybe it'll align with them later on in life. It's, again, their choice, but it's just up to us to free flow it through, and they can take whatever they want with that information. I'll also say that whatever comes through, or even the life that you're desiring, everything is possible for you. There are so many different timelines available to you at all times. Your highest timeline, maybe your current timeline, maybe even a lower timeline, but it's all available to you. And so if in a reading, you can see your highest timeline and what that looks like to you, but then you might have doubts, fears, subconscious beliefs, and programs that are running in the background that's keeping you in possibly this current reality. It's up to the client to want to work with healers such as us or therapists or whatever that inner work looks like for them to help clear those subconscious programs that are keeping them stuck in that reality of them not believing what's available to them.
Yeah. I always say to people, I think healthy skepticism is good because it helps you to discern.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, and it also keeps you from being manipulated. So you got to have a little bit of that healthy skepticism. But I always say to them when I'm either reading or doing energy work to just sit with it and just hold it and see how it feels. And it might take 6 months for something to come about that I've told them, or, and it's, I lost my train of thought. That's the menopause moment right here on the podcast, y'all.
And sometimes I think that people also make different decisions, or maybe there's other people involved in the possible outcome of a situation. And so based on whatever decision they make, or the decision that someone else makes, can affect that possible timeline that you see as a reader. And I'm sure with doing like Akashic Records reading, or if you're doing hypnosis and people are seeing things that they can't verify, like if you go into a past life and you're like, okay, I was some royal person in England back in the 1700s, how are you going to be able to tell that for sure? And whether you call it a past life or it's a alternate timeline that might be happening at the same time. I think some of it just is about like going in with some sort of, I don't like to use the word faith, but that kind of belief. Okay, this is possible. I have to trust myself that the things that I'm seeing and getting are a possibility. And then what is the lesson in it? And I think that's the biggest thing with like the Akashic Records reading is what is the lesson that is coming to the forefront to be looked at?
Well, and Brenda, that goes back to exactly what Lynn was saying about discernment. I mean, sometimes you kind of have to take your own kind of like temperature check and your gut reaction. Like your body will tell you, does that resonate with me or does that not resonate with me? And learning how to kind of like follow those cues of the things that you're hearing. And if that really creates a resonance within your body, then you can have, like you said, quote unquote, some faith that there's some truth buried in that story that's for you at this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because some things just can't be proven. Like I can't prove to you that you had a life back in the 1700s, but you can feel that in your gut. And sometimes when I'm doing QHHT as well, like, it's funny because Bree started taking clinical hypnosis and I was taking QHHT and I was like, oh my God, are we still aligning with stuff? Boy, that's crazy. But when you're doing QHHT, like these people are talking about these things and I can't like give them factual evidence, but what I say to them is like, but you're having tears. You're having an emotional response to the story that you're telling me. So that is your body's way of saying, hello, accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bree, have you come up against that kind of resistance with people? And then how do you deal with that in a client when they are telling you, like, I don't believe that, that's not true, or how can that be real?
Yeah, I mean, usually when I do readings, I also channel loved ones that have passed. So that helps to validate to the client because those are things that do validate, oh, that is true. That is something that's happening in my life, or that is something that happened to my loved one. But sometimes, as you mentioned, when you're talking strictly about past lives, it's very difficult to prove that that's true. But when or if that does happen in a reading, then I would just explain that maybe, as Lynn mentioned, maybe something doesn't resonate right now, but do sit with it because it may resonate with you later on in life, 6 months, a couple of years down the line. I know for myself, I've had readings where certain things don't resonate with me, and then years later it clicks. Oh, I just wasn't ready to hear that about myself back then. I understand it now. But in the moment, I think if you're working with a client who is resistant, again, just explaining to them that this is coming through for a reason and for a purpose, and just to simply just sit with it and see how it feels.
Well, and sometimes it's not even necessary that they believe or disbelieve. It's just to plant a seed. It's just to like, maybe sometimes you just have to come with a sense, like, take what I said and walk around it with curiosity. What if?
Mm-hmm.
What if this were true? What if I were to take on that mindset? What if, and just kind of like see where that thought process would take you. Sometimes it's not even about necessarily whether you completely buy into it or completely think it's hokum. It's to plant a seed and for you to get curious about what could be different if X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. And to Bree's point, where you were talking about like the mediumship that comes through for me in Akashic readings, that does help me a lot with clients because I literally finished a reading 30 minutes before we started this podcast. And she was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But then one of her people came in and started talking, and she was like, oh, my God. Like, so it's like, even if the stuff was kind of like halfway resonating with her, when he came through and started talking about things that I couldn't have known about, you could see the change take place on her face.
Yeah, because then they're understanding that, oh, this is coming from my spirit team and I can trust the information that's coming through. maybe I don't see how it's possible just yet, but they're channeling that. They're telling me this information for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I know that loved one, or maybe I don't. Maybe I haven't even met them in this lifetime. But regardless, I know they're on my team and they're bringing this information to me. I'm going to listen to that maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting job to have, isn't it? Working with the unseen. But I will say there are times when I do have people that they don't really, I don't know if they don't want to hear it or they're not ready to hear it. And it's funny to me that they'll even book a session, but they'll book and I'll do a reading and it's like, I mean, it's going to be like the hardest reading I've ever done. And when I finish, I'm just like, oh my God, like, should I give them their money?
Yeah, I've had it's tough. Unfortunately, I've had a client like that, but I just realized when I tapped into what's happening here, it's just that she was not ready to hear that information. And in fact, there were a lot of fears surrounding her buying into what I was telling her because it's something that she desired, but she's still really rooted in the belief that that's not possible for me. And so she just wasn't ready and she didn't want to hear it. And that's why outwardly she would say, I don't believe what you're saying. That's not possible. So, but it's not a job.
No, but it sure does make it hard when they leave because you're like, ooh, is this job right for me? Should I stop reading? Should I stop doing energy work? What should I do? Like, I don't think this path is for me.
Should I repent? What? Sometimes I think a lot of novice clients, so to speak, will seek one of you out simply for the fact that there's supposed to be a little crack in the shell and you're the one to make that crack. Whether they take everything with a grain of salt and put it away for a year or so, I feel like that first visit for so many people that are unsure is just to open their mind to the possibility, even if it takes years down the road. Just my input.
Absolutely. And I will sometimes, depending on the client, but sometimes if I do sense resistance, sometimes I may even just pause and say, I'm sensing a little bit of resistance. Do you have further questions? You want to ask your spirit team to help maybe validate something from a loved one that will help them feel more comfortable. Or if they have questions about the process or something that will allow them to open up their heart a little bit more to the experience. Because I explain, like, this is not for me, this is for you, and this is your time with your guides. And so, the more open that you can be, then the more you're going to get out of this experience and the more maybe information that you'll get that will help you throughout life or whatever you're going through.
Yeah. I've also had clients too that I've been reading for, and they're literally blank face.
And that to me.
Yeah. But it's hard for me. And that's when I have a hard time managing my own feelings, because I will say, is that resonating with you? And they're just literally blank face and they're like, yeah. And that's it.
Well,
so
I know, Lynn, I feel like you were a little bit like that when you read my husband, because he is just, but we know
there.
We know his beliefs, and we know he's at least woo curious. We know he's into it a little bit, and he gets the stuff because he's had some experiences, but he's just so stoic. He doesn't have emotional responses of pretty much any ilk. So he just sits there and nods, and he doesn't really give you a whole lot more than that. And I know as a reader, even though you know him personally, it was probably still difficult because you're like, does that resonate? Do you get that? Did that make sense? Right.
Yeah, that was it. I had totally forgot about him.
Sometimes it's not even that they don't believe or that they're not ready. It's just that's their personality. They're just a stoic kind of person, and you're just like, give me something. Give me something.
Yeah.
That's happened to me a
Totally.
few times. It is difficult because sometimes you would like a little feedback, like, is this resonating with you? Are you enjoying this process? Or are you still with me? Or what's going on? But you're right. Some people are like that. My fiance is also like that. And we actually had a reading with Melissa not too long ago. And I'm someone who's highly excitable and very animated. And he's someone who's not. And so it's just funny because I could see us on the screen and I'm like, if I was just reading you alone, that'd be very difficult for me because he's very like, yep, makes sense. Yep, to the point. But we can't, like, that's not up to us to control personalities of others. But it is difficult.
It's funny how you usually meet somebody who kind of balances you out, like the opposite, because I did the same thing too.
Yeah.
And I got to ask, what's your sun sign?
So my sun is Leo, and then my moon and my rising are Libra.
Oh, my rising is Libra as well.
Aw.
Got some balance in there with a little bit of oomph in that sun.
Yeah.
I would have taken you for a fellow Gemini. So disappointed.
Sorry.
I don't know. That hair is on point. That's a Leo right there.
Right?
It is, yeah. It's funny though, because my fiance, he's a Taurus, and technically those two aren't supposed to be friends, and they're not supposed to because we're both fixed signs. But I don't know. I feel like you just figure it out.
Well, Libra is ruled by Venus, and so is Taurus. So that's probably the adhesive right there.
Yeah.
I got myself a Taurus as well.
They're great. I like
Yeah, they are great.
Okay. Yeah, they're great. A little bit stubborn, a little bit set in their ways, but we need all kinds in this world, don't we?
Yeah.
I reckon.
So, Bree, if you had to choose, would you rather read for someone that is, like you were saying, like super excitable, is just like, oh my God, yes. It's just like, yes, yes, yes to everything. And it's kind of like a little bit over the top. Or someone who's, I'm going to say, a healthy skeptic, like the person who's like, okay, I can kind of see that. Give me more. But not the person who's like flat faced and giving you nothing, but that discerning, healthy skeptic. Like, who would you, if you could only like choose one, which would you rather read for?
See, that's a tough question because I feel like everyone that I read for, there's a purpose for them being read. Even the person who has no emotion and isn't excited about anything that's happening or whatever's being said, I feel like sometimes they just take time to process that information that comes through. And my fiance, for example, it took him time, but then days, months later, he'll still talk about what came through and how much it did resonate. Whereas someone, it might click right away. So I can't pick which one would be the best one because every personality takes information in different, right? It might not be reflected back to me. And again, I just can't let that affect my reading. It's someone maybe stoic, but they're here for a reason, or their higher self is here for a reason. So I just trust that that's going to stew and download and sync whenever it wants to sync.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this. Family and friends, how do they react to this career choice? What's been their input thus far?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm really lucky because, of course, my dad's side of my family, which is where my grandpa is from, they believed in energy healing. But it's interesting because before he went through his healing journey, he didn't believe in woo-woo stuff at all, alternative healing at all. He was very Catholic, and doing this kind of work was just a huge no. But when he was so sick and he had no other options, he just decided at that point, why not? I'll give this alternative healing a try. And then it changed his life. So now he's no longer a skeptic. But I'm also lucky with my mom's side. I come from healers on that side as well, too. My grandma is an energy healer. She does Filipino energy healing, Hilo, it's called. And my aunt is a theta healer. So I think they weren't too surprised when this is something I got into. I'm really lucky. I know that's not always the case for most people.
It's in your blood, honey. It's in your DNA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing, actually. I was going to say, when I was listening to Chandra ask you that question, I was like, "Ooh, who would I rather who would I rather read for?" But I think I would say for me, it's easier to read for people who are open. And when I'm reading for someone that's really open and really excited and is resonating, when we're done, I feel so uplifted and so light. And when I read for someone else who's like really stoic and they have nothing to say and they kind of look ho hum, like it literally drains my energy.
Yeah, it is difficult. Of course, we would love to have all those clients who are resonating in the same energy as us and just bouncing it back to us all the time. I would love that. But I feel like our work isn't to do that all the time. We actually are here to open up the space to maybe even pour some of our energy into people seeking that energy from their higher self, even though they're still resonating in maybe a lower density energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes I need a nap when people like that leave. But I mean, I know in the long run, it does help them. But a lot of times, the questioning for me is like, sometimes I'll be stuck on it for 3 or 4 days.
Well, I think that a good medium or reader should always be questioning the information that's coming through. Like you trust your guides, you trust your people who are there as your doorkeeper or your guardian. But I think it's a good measure of humility to question, like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I doing a good job? Am I giving people information that's helpful? Because I question myself all the time whenever I do readings. And I've even thought about quitting doing it as well, because it's a lot.
It is. It's an energy exchange type of career to have. It's not like you're an accountant where you can kind of go into autopilot mode and let that take over. There's giving and taking anytime you do a session. So yeah, their energy is going to affect you without a doubt. It's an investment.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel drained sometimes, Bree, when you finish working on people?
So I used to, and if I do have resistant clients, sometimes that naturally does happen. But I found that once I shifted it for myself that, hey, this is not about me. This is not a judgment on me. This is about them and their experience. I actually don't get tired after readings anymore. I am very hungry. I'm very hungry because I sweat. I don't know if this happens to you guys, but I sweat like crazy during my readings. So I'm very hungry and I'm very thirsty, but I actually feel quite energized. So
that's probably something I need to work on then.
It was a shift. I understand, like, when you do have those resistant clients, it's human nature to judge yourself or to doubt yourself, especially because this work, it's not something that we can always see and get graded on, or, like it's difficult. But I think the more that we make it about them and even improving our skills to like have a better experience for our clients, but still make it about them, I feel like taking it out of your ego almost and placing it on the experience for your clients and for the collective. That's kind of where that energy shifts a little. It's where it shifted for me, at least.
Yeah, I definitely need to do some work on that.
Now, I will those thoughts in hypnotherapy, because those are the beliefs, right? Like maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe that wasn't great for my clients. Like we can shift those beliefs as well.
Oh, well, I guess I need to sign up for a session with you. Get a little hypnotherapy going on.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I'm sure you know this already, but your subconscious thoughts are running your behaviors, 90% of your behaviors. And so there's so much in the subconscious that we don't even know is there. So then if we have those thoughts that maybe we aren't good enough, or maybe we're starting to doubt ourselves, our brain has no choice but to show that to us in our reality. That's what its job is to do. And so if we want to shift that, then we are, of course, are going to have to do that inner work and reprogram that thought about ourselves or the world around us.
That is a great idea. Like I'm sitting here like trying to process that, and I'm like, note to self, sign up for some hypnotherapy with Bree.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's not something to judge ourselves on or to feel guilty about having these thoughts. It's natural and it's human to have those thoughts. But it's empowering, I think, to know that we have the ability to reprogram those thoughts and change them so that we are able to live and experience a different life. I don't know. I think that's the magic tool for life, is to be able to do that for ourselves.
Yeah, that is like, I'm sorry, I'm like trying to process all of that. And I was like, I've never even thought about like getting hypnotized to like try to get rid of some of the background noise.
Same.
Yeah.
I was just thinking the same thing too. I'm like,
Yeah.
Let me
If
ask
we
you
all
this.
start blowing her account up.
right.
Let me ask you this, Bree. I mean, okay, for example, Lynn, she does the quantum healing hypnosis technique, which is just wonderful, by the way. But you're studying, you said clinical hypnosis. So are we talking about people that would come to you to say, lose weight, stop smoking, help their anxiety? What kind of specific hypnosis techniques are you looking into?
So all of those. So yeah,
Okay.
pain management as well, hypnobirthing, which is also huge. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, of course, even like working with anxiety or behavioral patterns, such as someone who wants to quit smoking or vaping or living a healthier lifestyle. And then, of course, working with those beliefs and programs that just aren't aligning with the life that they want to live. So it could be money blocks that the person has. It could be thoughts about love or partners or people, like relationships that they may have. There's a lot that we learn in clinical hypnotherapy. So it's behaviors, but then it's also subconscious reprogramming thoughts.
Okay. So it can be curtailed to anything, really, it sounds like.
So, would a person, I mean, to Lynn's point, if you knew that you had, and I'm not saying this is specific to Lynn, but like what she was talking about, if you knew there was a place where you like knew that things were creeping in, and you knew there had to be some belief behind that because you knew that there was a different way to approach how you reacted to that situation. But would the person have to know specifically what the belief was for the hypnotherapy to work? Or would they just have to know, here's where I'm struggling and here's the behavioral pattern I want to change? And then the hypnotherapy would kind of like, for lack of a better way to say it, kind of like go where it needed to go to address that.
Exactly. You just have to come in wanting to know what you want to shift. So, as you mentioned, the behavior that you want to shift, you don't have to know where it comes from. And in fact, a lot of the events that trigger that behavior come from childhood. And most of the time, we don't remember. So, you don't need to know what event that was, but you just need to know what the feeling is that you want to change.
Right. So you don't even really have to know that how somebody reacts to the example we were talking about, so how somebody reacts to my reading personally. I'm taking that personally. You wouldn't even really necessarily have to know the belief behind why that is to work on that particular situation, right?
No, I would just ask, in that moment when you feel that feeling, what's the feeling that comes up? Where are you feeling that? And then through hypnosis, we're taking you to, it's a meditative state, but even deeper. So that's where the change work can happen. But we're taking you to that relaxed state. And then we're asking you to revisit the first time that that event occurred. And so this is a myth, by the way. People think that hypnosis can delete memories. That's a total myth. But our purpose is to reframe the feeling from that memory. So say as a child, my grandparents rejected me about a grade that I got that wasn't 100% or whatever. They rejected it. And they said, you're not good enough. You need to try harder. That wasn't good enough. That feeling rooted as a child. And then throughout life, every time I experienced a similar feeling, it brought me subconsciously back to that feeling of, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. And so through hypnotherapy, we go back to the root and we shift that feeling of that event to, your grandparents weren't telling you you weren't good enough. They were just trying to protect you, and you are good enough, and just reframing the feeling behind it so that it doesn't continue to re-trigger and strengthen that belief about yourself throughout life.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's
Go ahead.
powerful. It's powerful. I feel like at first it does maybe sound overwhelming, like, oh, I don't know if I want to go back there. But you're not necessarily reliving those, let's say, traumatic events. You're just, again, just reframing that feeling. So I had another client who experienced a traumatic event, and she wanted to rewrite the feeling behind that, because every time she would think back to that event, she'd be very traumatized and she would feel fear. So we brought her back. And when I asked her to recall the last time you felt this, or a time that you felt this feeling, she didn't go back to that traumatic event, but she did go back to an event that triggered the same feeling. And so she reframed that feeling. And now in the present day, when she thinks back to that memory, she has a different feeling towards that, even though that's not the one that she went back to during her session. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Are you thinking of writing a book, or are you in the process of writing a book, Bree?
I would love to. And that
I just
actually
got a
came up.
bam seeing you as an author, just a knowing,
Yes.
so to speak.
That's great intuition, because I also came up in a reading that I had recently. So.
Nice. It's in the cards.
It is.
Get all these
That's great.
psychics.
This is probably why I would say that's probably why the recording didn't record immediately.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to write a really good joke about this. How many psychics do you have to have on a Zoom call to
Make it crash.
I would say 5.
And 3 dogs, and we're good to go.
You've got
5.
3 in there. And Chandra's got hers, and Bree has hers. So
5 dogs.
5. Oh, 5 and 5.
Oh, I like it.
Interesting.
Very nice. Very nice.
some would
Gosh,
call that an
that's-
angel number, repeating digits?
Mm, yes.
That.
Anybody else got anything? Everybody's looking at each other.
We're all sitting here like spinning our wheels about.
I wonder.
Yeah, spinning our wheels about hypnotherapy and like, what am I going to work on first with Bree? Like, where do I
Where do I
have
have
a
any
go with
openings
this?
soon?
That was exactly what I was thinking.
Literally, that's what my mind's like, oh, I wake up and get with Bree and get some hypnotherapy done to like, create. Because what if you like are afraid of being seen?
So that's also another myth. People will say like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to spill my deepest, darkest secrets. But the way that your subconscious mind works is that it will only share things that it wants to share. And so,
Mhm.
like if you're coming to me and you want to work on self-talk and self-love, you're not going to tell me your passwords or your PIN number or whatever, because your subconscious mind knows I don't want to share that. But I do want to share the self-talk that I want to change.
Nice.
So are you doing your sessions on Zoom and in person, or just on Zoom or online?
Yeah, most of them are on Zoom because I feel like clients are all over the world.
Right.
I do take some in person, but I actually feel like it's nice to do them through Zoom because people can be in their own bed, relaxed, in their pajamas or whatever
With their dog.
they feel like wearing. Yeah.
And how long does, like, if you were to do a hypnosis session, because that's what I'm thinking about, how long would that session last and what would that look like?
So the first session is usually around 90 minutes, but it just gives us time to unpack what you want to work on. And then subsequent sessions usually take 60 to 70 minutes, just depending on what we're working through that day.
And then when you do readings, what kind of time do you set aside for that?
Readings are also 60 minutes, as well as energy healings too.
Okay.
But what I love about doing all 3 is that, as we all mentioned, sometimes you do get a reading and you're like, okay, I would love to live on that highest timeline. All these things that are coming through, like, I want that resonates with me. But then sometimes we settle into our current reality and we're like, how the heck is that going to happen for me? And all these thoughts come through, the doubts, the fears, the how is it going to happen? But I'm learning now, and I've learned that it's all the subconscious beliefs that are kind of stopping us from getting to those timelines that we want. to jump onto. Like all of the thoughts that we have, all the subconscious beliefs. I was making a TikTok before this, but I was saying that we're literally plugging in to the reality that aligns with all the thoughts and subconscious beliefs that we have. And so if we're living in this reality and it looks very different from our highest timeline, it's just because we're still giving energy into our current timeline. We're not necessarily giving energy or thoughts into our highest timeline. Like, let's say I want to be a millionaire and use that money to help other people. Would I be saying things that like money is scarce, or I'm broke, or I can't afford this, or that all of those thoughts and beliefs? I wouldn't say that if I was in that higher timeline and reality. And so saying those things is what's plugging me in to this current timeline instead of plugging me into that higher timeline.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
I feel like people sometimes think that aligning with timelines is woo-woo and it's all about energy, but it's both. It's energy and subconscious reprogramming, which is backed by neuroscience and psychology. It's cool. It's crazy.
Right. Nobody becomes a millionaire with a poverty mindset at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think so many of us were raised in families where, money doesn't grow on trees and I can't have this thing. And I have a friend and she's always saying, I'm broke. I'm like, well, yeah.
Totally.
Because you're always saying you're broke. So you're broke.
There's never enough seems to be a common thread.
Yeah. Or something always happens. Whenever I get a little bit of money, something always happens and takes it away. I hear that so much from people too.
Yep. For myself, like I grew up and I experienced a lot of, unfortunately, infidelity in my family. And all those beliefs about you can't rely on a man, men always cheat, men are trash, and all these things about relationships, that was just embedded into me. So it took a lot of work. And then, surprise, surprise, I started experiencing that in my own life. So it did take that inner work to unpack those belief systems and change them out to new belief systems to bring in a life and reality that I wanted. So it's interesting how much it affects us.
Yeah, you got to plug into a better outlet at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Gosh, that is like my mind is just blown. I'm like, oh, tell me more. How can I get rid of these limiting beliefs?
Yeah.
Go see Bree Delacruz.
Yeah. Sometimes we know they're there and sometimes we don't. Like I've also had clients come through and belief systems will come in an Akashic reading. We'll see like the belief systems that are rooted in their past lives, but then it's repeated themselves in this life. So that's also interesting because you're like, I don't know why I think money is scarce when my life maybe is showing me that that's not true, but I still believe it. And we kind of see, oh, it's coming from that past life where money was scarce.
Yes. You were talking about like the first hypnosis is 90 minutes and then each subsequent one after that. How many sessions does it take to like figure me out?
She ain't got enough time, Lynn.
No. It really depends. And I know that's the worst answer, but I will say if you're new to hypnotherapy, I usually do recommend at least 3 sessions 1 week apart. The best is if you do 5 1 week apart. But think about it this way. It's like picking up a new hobby, say golfing, or even going to the gym for maybe the first time. The first time you go, it's going to feel unfamiliar to you perhaps. And your muscles, let's say, if like even when you're golfing, right? When you're golfing, you're doing movements that your body is not used to. Your brain is rewiring new pathways that it's not used to that path. And so when we space them a week apart, you're just strengthening that new neural pathway each week to eventually make it comfortable so that that's the new neural pathway. Similar to when you go to golf, let's say you go to golf 5 weeks in a row. After that 5 weeks, you're probably going to be decently good. But if you go once and then you never go again, you will know how to golf, but it may not be that much of a difference. So it really depends to what the client is working on.
And probably how much resistance they have to the process as well, because sometimes we can be resistant even if we are on board and we want to do this thing. But then when it comes up, I don't know if it's our subconscious mind that resists the change or if we are resisting the change, but I think that can happen. Do you think that can happen as well?
Yeah, you're totally right. That can happen. Similar to going to the gym, let's say, if you go and it's totally new to you, you may be sore for a few days, right? And maybe you might not want to go back. Maybe you don't feel comfortable going back because it's still new to you. And it's a new feeling and it's a new side of you that maybe you haven't explored before. But the more often that clients go and the more comfortable they get with the experience, then they are generally less resistant.
Gosh, that's I can't. I'm like, take my money.
I think we're all mentally making our list of all the things that we.
See, I got my pen right here. I've been writing down like what it is I need to get rid of. But I will say now, a very long time ago, I did go to hypnosis to quit smoking years and years ago, and I walked out and never smoked another cigarette.
Wow, that's awesome.
Until 2 years later. But then I was like, no, you can't be getting back on that track. But I also slip into channel really easily. So probably not real hard to rewire this. So
yeah, I mean, sometimes that does happen, but it's all about creating that new neural pathway again. Like, oh, do I want to do that again? Nope. Let's go back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to strengthen it, basically, right?
Like any habit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes
Really
sense.
interesting too, because sometimes when people will come for behavioral, I don't want to call them issues, but behavioral things that they want to change, it's usually rooted in something else. Like smoking, for example, is that triggered by the feeling of stress, loss? Like, what's the underlying thing? And so that's why, again, I usually do recommend more than one session because everything that we're experiencing has layers to it, right? We're just peeling back the onion and figuring out what's inside. How can we fix and reframe this? So,
yeah, we actually talk about that all the time about peeling the layers off the onion. Go ahead, Brenda.
So you hear about it a lot in the spiritual community on YouTube videos and such about rewiring your brain. But then you're like, well, what does that mean? Like, how do I rewire my brain? You can reframe the words that you say to yourself or try to be more self-aware of when things come up. But it seems to me like what you're doing with hypnotherapy could be like not a fast track, because, we're not trying to spiritually bypass the work that needs to be done, but maybe it's a really good tool to use to help you rewire your brain instead of trying to do it all by yourself.
it is.
I mean, I see it as kind of like it goes directly to the root. I mean, I can fertilize a plant and I can sprinkle it on the leaves and it might do a little good. But if I dig down in the soil a little bit and actually put it into the soil so that it can get to the roots first. So hypnotherapy just kind of goes I can sit here and I can say, I'm good enough. I am enough. I am enough. I can say it to my conscious mind all day long. And eventually, I probably will start to believe some of it, but it's going to probably take me years and years and years to get to the point where I have the self-worth that quote unquote I'll long for.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas hypnotherapy can probably skirt through a lot of that and take it down to the subconscious level where it gets, for lack of a better word, more firmly implanted than it can with just my saying it over and over again in my conscious mind.
Yeah, you have to make it innate as opposed to popping a Band-Aid on something. Makes
And
sense.
you're completely right. So hypnotherapy, it doesn't spiritually bypass, but it is a more efficient way to get to those root thoughts and behaviors, because it is difficult for us to drop us down into that theta brainwave state and do all the change work and still imagine. And you need someone to help you most of the time, at least if you want to do it quickly. But I will say, the things that you're doing on your own time, I do give my clients homework, I guess you can call them, because we can do the sessions, but in between the sessions, if you're still saying things to yourself that I'm not good enough, then you're kind of working against yourself. But if you are doing the inner work, that you are saying your affirmations, your subconscious mind will eventually, yes, start to believe it. And then if you're doing that in between hypnotherapy sessions, that's how it can happen quite quickly, because then your brain starts to go, oh, that's true. I am worthy. Oh, I'm worthy. Right. Oh, I'm worthy. Okay. Then your world is showing you all of the ways and all the reasons why you are worthy.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense, because you're not just coming at it from top down. You're kind of coming at it top down, bottom up, until everything is changed and they meet in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that analogy.
Yeah. She was talking about worthiness, and all of a sudden I got hot. I was like, oh my goodness, maybe that's something I need to work on.
And yeah, these are things that we all have subconscious programming that's maybe working against us, and it's nothing to be shameful about, but we do have the power again to rewrite it for ourselves. And so sometimes people will maybe be resistant because they're like, oh, I don't want to go there. I don't want to experience that. But also, if you're trying to live this other life that you're desiring, do you want to keep putting the Band-Aid on, as you mentioned, or do you want to let it heal? Open the wound a little bit, let it heal, and then it's good.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, that's amazing. Well, this has been a really good conversation. I think we went from managing skepticism to talking about some hypnotherapy.
Another tool in the toolbox of healing.
Truly.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah. Gosh, thank you so much for joining us today, Bree. This has been an amazing conversation.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's say I want to have a session with you. What's the best way to reach out?
Yeah, I would love if you could connect with me on social media. So I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Soul and Luna Healing. I share a lot of tips and tricks and things that you can do on your own time on my social media sites. And then if you'd like to book a session with me, you can head to soulandlunahealing.com.
So it's solar Luna, like the sun,
and
soul and lunar healing.
Luna.
That's
Luna.
SOL, like sun, right?
Yeah, it's SOL and LUNA, sun and moon healing.
Perfect. Nice. Excellent.
We'll make sure we have those links in the show notes for everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
So what a lovely conversation and a lovely person that you are, Bree. Thank you, Lynn, for bringing her to our attention. And I will be reaching out myself because I would like to have some sort of session with you. I don't know what yet, but I feel like I need to do that. So I'll be talking to you soon, girl.
Thanks for having me. It was so fun to be with the Woo Woo crew.
Being in our orbit, we've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Take care, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we love you very much. Bye-bye.
Peace out.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us today. Please follow and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave a review. It's so easy to do and such a huge help for us. We appreciate your interactions so much. Want to join us at our table? Make sure to check out our YouTube channel and join our Facebook community. If you've enjoyed this content and wish to support us, take a look at our Patreon page. All information and links will be in our podcast description. Catch you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.